Welcome to PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. This is the European Special, and I'm your host, Patrick Mullen, joined once again with my co-host, Blair Malloy. It seems to be every week I start this show talking up how great another week of Champions League football it's been, Blair. But again, it was just spectacular once again.
Yeah, Patrick, some absolutely incredible games this week. We're going to talk about Real Madrid, that unbelievable comeback. Aston Villa sitting top of the Champions League. Who could have seen that coming after 3 games? Erling Haaland defying belief with that goal he scored. And also a little bit of Europa League football as well. It's a little bit different, but it's been absolute box office Mourinho this week. I thought it would be just to stick it in there at the end.
Yeah, we had to get him involved. Yeah. For some of you that maybe have watched the European show throughout the years, you always noticed we might be wearing a bit of retro football shirts. Today, we've spiced it up a little bit. We are wearing PLZ Soccer's very own limited edition art graphic shirts made by Jim Scullion. You have the chance to buy them now, maybe looking for a Christmas present, Blair. If you are looking for one, get in the link down below and treat some of your special someones this Christmas. We'll get into the football now. Real Madrid 5, Borussia Dortmund 2. Game of the tournament so far, Blair?
It was quite an incredible game, Patrick. I got lulled into a false sense of security. I thought, this is it. Real Madrid are finally going to falter. Borussia Dortmund 2-0 up. I thought, they've went there and they've done a job on them. Oh, how wrong I was. Real Madrid just doing what Real Madrid do. It was a Carlo Ancelotti special. They came back into the game. The second, I thought they may have just left themselves too open with that midfield they set up with Fede Valverde. Really the only defensive midfielder having Jude Bellingham and Luka Modric in front of them. But they just found a way, as Real Madrid often seem to do. And that second half performance, specifically from Vinicius Jnr, it was unbelievable.
It's so special how they seem to keep on pulling it out of the bag. That's now 15 straight home games unbeaten in the Champions League. And I think if you're going to play in this league format, 4 games at home, 4 games away, you've got to make sure that your home is a fortress. And well, there's not many more fortresses than the Santiago Bernabeu, a special stadium. And as you said, Vinicius Jnr, he's been one of the best players this season so far for you, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think he's definitely up there, Patrick. Of course, the Ballon d'Or is coming up this Monday. If we take a look at the odds for that's coming up this week, Vinicius Jnr leads the betting in that 2-5 on favourite to lift the Ballon d'Or. Rodri in there at 4-1. Jude Bellingham 20-1, third in the race, and then Dani Carvajal 25s and Lamine Yamal out there at 40-1. So really, with the bookies, they're saying that there's no one to be beaten other than Vinicius Jnr to lift that award. Would he be your man to take it?
I think on individual performances, I think he's right up there. I'm a little bit surprised. We spoke before that Erling Haaland's not even in that top 5, a Premier League winner. Champions League, he's banging in the goals that we're going to talk about later on. But Rodri, for me, a season where you win the Euros, the Premier League, and the Champions League, it's quite, involved. It's quite incredible. I think he might just get pipped. Yourself, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I would have said Rodri maybe the back end of last season, with his performances in the Euros and with his performances for Manchester City. I think the reason why Rodri sticks out so much to me is how important is a player to the team. And I think Manchester City and Spain specifically, with Rodri, he just makes any team he's in so much better. And I think that's why I would have gone for him. But I don't think you can argue with Vinicius' performance so far this season. That the other night was really special. And if you're talking about players who can come on and change games and really make a game their own, then Vinicius Jnr last night, absolutely incredible.
If we're talking about players that can come on and take the game by its hands, well, John Duran, Aston Villa 2, Bologna 0. Aston Villa are top of the Champions League group stage after 3 games. Blair, if I'd said that to you a few weeks ago, I don't think you would have believed me. I don't think anyone here would have believed me.
I don't think anyone would have believed that, Patrick. I think especially when you look at the fixtures, that Bayern Munich game specifically, that was such an emotive game. There was so much wrapped up in that. And then to come out with the win, it really set Aston Villa on their way. And the performances so far this season have looked as though they belong to be there. John Duran, as you mentioned there, he has been a special standout talent. We talked about him last week on the European Football Show. He scored 2 goals in 118 minutes of Champions League football now, and that's his 7th in all competitions so far. And we're not even into November yet, so exciting times for Aston Villa.
And I think you've got to give credit to Bologna. They looked really promising, a really strong defensive positioning and kind of performance from Aston Villa, keeping this game in hand. John McGinn getting his first goal of the campaign. That free kick, I don't think he meant it to go in, but he's not going to be complaining about that one. And I think we mentioned it. You know, everyone's saying Aston Villa, how incredible it is that they're top. But there's one man who doesn't think it should be incredible. He wants to set this almost as a precedent for Aston Villa, and that's Unai Emery. And we spoke to him after the game.
Of course, we can change our objective and to be in the top 8. But I want to feel it something like a natural way we are doing. And not a surprise, because if we are playing in our good performances, we can be there. Of course, they are another team contender, favorite to get top 8, but we are being consistent and we are getting points and we are, of course, feeling comfortable.
Incredible.
I think what he says there, Patrick, it really shows a mentality shift in Aston Villa. He's looking at them now going, we want to be comfortable up here. We want to make it the norm that Aston Villa are competing at the top end of the Champions League, remember. This is not Europa League. This is not Conference League. This is the Champions League. And you need to give him credit. The way he's instilled that mindset into Aston Villa and really took them on to this elite level. You wouldn't back against them getting out into the top 8 of that competition. And with Aston Villa, with Villa Park rocking, who knows where they could go?
And remember, this is the team that were promoted into the Premier League not too long ago, fighting for survival, then had that incredible season. I don't think anyone really expected them to do as well as they are doing now. But the sky's the limit. If they can get into that top 8, they automatically move past, away from that playoff round where you could get any sort of opposition, given how kind of up and down this league is. They might move on, get a quick win, and suddenly they're in the quarterfinals of the Champions League.
I think you spoke about John McGinn earlier. He really epitomises where this Aston Villa squad has come from. He was turning out for them in the Championship. He's scored some great goals down in that division, and now he's scoring goals for them in the Champions League. And they have bought well. They've signed guys like John Duran, who, I'll be honest, I'd never heard of before he turned up at Aston Villa, and now he's turning into one of the players of the season. So you have to rate their recruitment, and it's working out for them.
He's been in the squad, John Duran. He's been around this team last season and now this, but it's just about taking a chance. As we spoke about it last time out, if you've got a player that can come off the bench and put the ball in the back of the net, that is huge in the Champions League. I know for him, he'll probably want to be starting games, playing all 90 minutes, but if it works, it works. Now we're going to take a little break before we head into the next game and give you the opportunity to win this Luka Modric Real Madrid shirt. Check out this video and how you can win it. It's a new week, which means there's a new prize to be won on PLZ Soccer's YouTube channel. This week's competition gives you the chance to win this special Luka Modric shirt from Real Madrid. To win it, all you have to do is answer this very simple question. Which club did Real Madrid sign Luka Modric from? Answer that question in the comments section below and make sure you are watching PLZ Soccer's European special show and the football show all this week. Good luck. Another great competition to win with PLZ Soccer. Blair, I wouldn't mind a little Modric search myself.
Yeah, it's a fantastic shot, Patrick. Luka Modric, obviously one of the icons of the last sort of 10, 20 years of European football. And to have a shot like that with his name on the back, it's one that you can hang on to. And in 20, 30 years, you've seen the value of football shirts absolutely skyrocket. He's one of these players that I think we'll be talking about in 20 years' time. Going, remember Luka Modric? If you've got a jersey of his, that'll be an absolute hit at 5-a-sides on a Monday night.
That's the question. Do you frame it or do you wear it out to the lads?
Oh, you wear it. You wear
gotta
it.
wear it.
I'm not one for framing shirts. I say, if you have it, get it worn. Do your best Luka Modric, pinging passes about the cage. That's what it's all about.
You talk about shirts that might be holding their value in future years. I think one shirt that everyone is going to be having held up in their wall, remembering this special player, well, it's going to be Erling Haaland. Another fantastic performance for him. We're going to talk about that goal. But first of all, Manchester City 5, Sparta Prague 0. Just wow for Manchester City. A new unbeaten European record. That's 26 games now for Pep Guardiola's side in Europe. Who can stop them?
Yeah, I mean, I feel as though we've seen this game so many times from Manchester City, where they take on, by no means a small team, Sparta Prague, Czech champions, I believe. They're a really big side, but they just swat them aside as if for nothing. And it shows the power and the squad depth of Man City that they can come and do this. Undoubtedly, the moment of that game is Erling Haaland's goal. I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he managed to pull off this somewhat karate kick, but it was incredible, absolutely incredible.
This guy must be doing some sort of stretches. I need to hear his his routine to get his foot. I could hardly get my foot up to maybe about this height.
I think I'd be in the hospital if I tried to pull that off.
A wee broken hamstring. I think there's someone that's even more confused than all of us, and that's Pep Guardiola. This man has seen some level of football in his time, but even he was baffled by this goal.
No, I didn't know how to score in the moment because there was one player in front of me and not even know who scored. And I said, who scored? And I said, how? And they tell me in that way. And now I saw it in TV, but I didn't see it in the moment.
In retrospect, in all your years, have you ever seen a goal like that? Because he went back.
Yeah, against Dortmund. Against Dortmund has done it. Quite similar. Yeah.
So it's normal.
I would say no. For a human being, I would say no.
Some season for Haaland already. I mean, what is that now? He scored 44 goals in 42 Champions League appearances. He's just prolific at the moment.
Yeah, I think it's worth repeating that. 44 goals in 42 Champions League games. That's just an unbelievable stat that I can't quite get my head around. Playing at this level, and we can't overlook how high a level this is. Erling Haaland, he just scores goals for fun at this level. Actually, going back to that goal, it was very Zlatan Ibrahimovic-esque. I remember he scored the goal Euro 2004, quite similar to that, the way he angled his body up. Actually reminded me of one as well. This may be a little bit before your time. Another in 2004. If you've not seen it, go and look at it. It's one of my favourite goals of all time. Charles Edward Corridon, a player never really made much of his career, played for PSG against Porto in the 2004 Champions League. A ball comes across the box and he scores this scorpion kick, and the way he contorts his body, it was absolutely incredible. And anytime I see a player score a goal like that, it always takes me back to that one, and I think it's just a sight to behold and leaves everyone going, wow, how has he done that?
Yeah, the Champions League, I think it's all to play for heading into the final 5 games. Usually we don't talk too much about the Conference League and the Europa League, but I think we've got to mention it. Fenerbahçe won, Manchester United won. The scoreline may have been a draw, but this game, the build-up, the post-match, the fixture, it was just box office.
It was absolutely vintage Mourinho, and I think that's why we've had to put it in this week, because he was at his all-time best. There's a lot of talk this last few months about Oasis getting back together and remembering the old days. Maybe are they quite as good as they once were, but people are queuing up anyway. Mourinho's the exact same. People will be turning out in their droves to see this man until he chucks it, because he is something else. The press conference before the game, like you say, people are queuing up. He's talking about the journalists who have called out the hotel that he's staying in. And then after the game, the penalty decision against them, he says that the referee's quite incredible. He's one of the best in Europe because he somehow managed to see the penalty decision and also see his behaviour on the touchline. It's peak Mourinho, and I love it. I love to see it.
He doesn't care. Yeah, I mean, Mourinho will do what Mourinho wants to do. It's Mourinho's world, and we're all living in it.
Yeah.
But he said after the game, it wasn't that Fenerbahçe got a point against Manchester United. It was Manchester United that held on for a point against Fenerbahçe. And it's been the story of their kind of Europa League campaign. That's now 3 games for them. 3 times they've held the lead, and they've then resulted in a draw. 3 points through 3. Man United fans are not happy with Ten Hag, and I think he's got to start picking up victories, because otherwise Man United could find themselves out of the Europa League.
Yeah. I mean, he's under pressure. He's certainly under pressure. And 3 draws out of 3 games, you think, is probably not good enough for a team like Manchester United. Just touching back on Mourinho, Erik ten Hag might be heading out of England, but Mourinho might be heading back. He said that he could be eyeing up a job in the lower leagues, in the lower half of the Premier League, just to avoid those European referees in UEFA competition.
I think the best thing I have to do is, when I leave Fenerbahçe, I go to a club that doesn't play UEFA competitions. So if any club in England from the bottom of the table needs a coach in 2 years, I'm ready to go. And I don't want to say anything more about it.
I think I've got to speak to Peter after this and get him to send me to Fenerbahçe. I need to experience one of Jose Mourinho's press conferences, but I wouldn't be too careful. You know, if he takes a bottom half Premier League side, he'll probably have them in the UEFA competitions the next year.
He also said in that press conference, which you can watch the full thing on our YouTube channel, he said that the Turkish press maybe not happy that he started to win games, and it's Mourinho just poking the bear. like directing the narrative in his own way, and he's been doing that since he turned up at Chelsea all these years ago with the famous "I'm the special one" quote. He is always the news story, and it's brilliant. I think it's incredible to see. But just to finish off this week, it's been another fantastic week of Champions League football. Who is your player of the week that as your standout from the Champions League or Europa League?
It was a tricky one for me. I'm someone that likes to see goals. So we had two, for me, standout performances. Vinicius Jnr. and Rafinha. And for me, I've gone for the former Leeds winger. Some performance, a clinical hat-trick against Bayern Munich. A result I don't think many people saw that emphatic of a victory. 4 goals and 1 assist for him now in his opening 3 Champions League games. And don't forget, this is a man a few years ago playing for Leeds United that the Leeds fans were calling out at Bielsa saying Daniel James should be starting ahead of this man. He's gone over to Barcelona, had an incredible season, and for me, he's my man of the match, player of the week. Yourself?
Yep, it's quite a good shout, Patrick. I'll give you that. Mine is a little bit more obscure. Edon Zhegrova from Lille. Those of you who haven't heard of him, you will get to know him, especially after performance this week. He came on. Lille, they rested a few players for the game against Atletico this week, much to the surprise of many. Went 1-0 down to Atletico at the Wanda Metropolitano, and everybody thought Atletico Madrid, they'll see it out then. Indeed, they did not. Lille came all the way back, 3-1 winners. Jonathan David came off the bench and scored 2, but Zhegrova, the 25-year-old, he came off the bench as well. And for me, he changed the game. Lille, they paid just £7 million for him 2 years ago, and especially this season, I've been watching him in qualifying, I've watched him all the way through. He just looks so dynamic, as if he's going to make something happen all the time. This really seems like a breakout season for him. He scored 7 goals in 13 appearances so far this year. And like I said, at 25 years old, if he keeps putting these performances in the Champions League, I think it's only a matter of time until a big team comes calling. So Edon Zhegrova, remember the name.
Definitely one to watch. That's sadly all we have time for on the European show. But before we go, make sure you get your answer to our special question in the comments down below. We'll be back on the week of the 6th of November to keep you up to date with all of the new Champions League news. For myself and Blair Malloy, we'll see you next time.